Under the glaring lights of a crowded congressional hearing room, silence rippled like a wave after Adam Schiff leaned into his microphone and delivered the sharp jab. "Mr. Kennedy, with all due respect, you sound uneducated on this matter." His words cut through the room, drawing smirks from some and muffled gasps from others. Cameras zoomed in, eager to catch the fallout to the audience. It looked like Kennedy had been cornered, humiliated in front of the world. But instead of shrinking back, John Kennedy leaned forward with a calm smile. His voice, steady and firm, carried a weight that silence could not contain. "Uneducated, you say? Let me tell you a story." The room shifted. Everyone leaned in, wondering what could possibly come next. Kennedy didn't raise his voice. He didn't lash out. He began to weave a story that stretched far beyond politics, far beyond insults. It was a story rooted in humility, hardship, and triumph. He spoke of his childhood, a boy growing up in a small town where books were scarce, but lessons were everywhere. His father worked double shifts at a factory, his hands calloused from labor, yet he never failed to tell young John, "Son, education isn't about how many degrees you hold up. It's about how much wisdom you gather when life tests you." His mother, a school teacher, would often sit him down at the kitchen table with a candle burning late into the night, making him read aloud even when he stumbled over words. Kennedy admitted he wasn't the brightest kid in class. He struggled with comprehension, fought against self-doubt, and often faced ridicule from peers who mocked his southern drawl and his slower way of learning. But he pressed on. What others saw as slowness, he learned was thoroughness. Where others skimmed, he studied. Where others memorized, he understood. "I worked through law school nights after mopping floors to pay tuition," he continued. "I listened to professors who doubted me, employers who overlooked me, and colleagues who underestimated me. But here I am, not because I was handed anything, but because I never quit. Because I kept learning from life when books weren't enough." The room was utterly silent now. Schiff's smirk had long faded. Kennedy wasn't speaking just to him anymore. He was speaking to every person who had ever been dismissed, belittled, or told they weren't smart enough. Then came the turn, the moment that struck like lightning. Kennedy leaned back slightly and added, "You see, Congressman, education is not just about Ivy League diplomas or fancy titles. It's about knowing the value of people, the cost of freedom, the weight of responsibility." Some of the smartest men I've ever met couldn't spell their own names but built families, businesses, and communities from nothing. "They taught me more about life than any classroom ever did." A murmur ran through the crowd. Reporters scribbled frantically. Even political opponents shifted uneasily, realizing they had just witnessed something far deeper than a rebuttal. Kennedy closed with quiet conviction. "So if being uneducated means I understand what it feels like to struggle, to rise, and to never forget where I came from, then I will wear that title proudly. But don't mistake humility for ignorance, or endurance for weakness. My education is written in sweat, sacrifice, and service to the people I represent. And that, sir, is something no one can take from me." The room erupted, some with applause, some with stunned silence. Schiff had no response. The insult that was meant to humiliate Kennedy had instead been transformed into a powerful testimony of resilience and dignity. And as the hearing went viral, millions across the country resonated with Kennedy's words. People who had been told they weren't enough suddenly saw themselves in his story. Parents working 2 jobs to put their kids through school. Veterans who had learned lessons in combat, not classrooms. Farmers, waitresses, mechanics, and small business owners are those who carry the wisdom of experience rather than diplomas. Kennedy's story reminded the nation of a simple, profound truth: real education is not measured in degrees or accolades, but in character, perseverance, and the courage to keep going when the world underestimates you. That day, Kennedy didn't just defend himself, he gave a voice to millions who had been dismissed as uneducated. He reminded everyone that dignity and wisdom can rise from the humblest beginnings, and that sometimes, the most powerful lessons in life are born not in lecture halls, but in the quiet, hard moments of struggle. By the end of the day, the insult Schiff hurled had been flipped into Kennedy's greatest triumph, and those who listened walked away with a lesson they wouldn't forget. Never mistake humility for ignorance, and never underestimate the strength of a man who has learned from life itself.